Thanks so much for checking out my YouTube channel. My name is Steve Herman. I'm a medium. I'm really into the teaching aspect of mediumship. And this YouTube channel is completely dedicated to mediumship development training and mediumship education. So thanks so much for checking out this channel. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some books which I highly recommend. Books that will help you grow as an individual. Books that will help you expand your abilities as a medium, as an instrument for the world of spirit. Now, I've authored 2 books myself. I have Mediumship Mastery, The Ultimate Guide, which I have right here. And then I also have a new book, Mediumship Mastery 2. And the reason I want to talk about advanced techniques that work, and both of these are available on Amazon, but I want to talk about some books which I actually recommend. I have them, there's a resource section in this new book for mediumship training, different places you can go for training, but also I recommend some books. And what's really important is, intellectually, we might read different books written by people, and some stuff can just be complete surface level, or even garbage, depending on what it is. But there's a lot of information out there. Experiences the author might have had, their realizations, their comprehension of how the process of spirit communication takes place, or even their approaches, that will benefit, that we will immensely benefit from and gain knowledge and awareness from. So I highly recommend these books, which I'm going to read, and I'm going to explain a little bit because I've got a stack of them right here. And I've done some videos in the past where I recommended different books on mediumship training or development. I have a whole list of ones that I felt were really favorite. I put those out a few years ago on this YouTube channel. So these are some different books, all about mediumship. And if you read them, like I said, they're worth getting, which is why I'm making the suggestions. And as I read the list right here, the first book which I actually want to recommend is my own book, which I want to recommend and plug, and that's Mediumship Mastery, The Ultimate Guide, which is on Amazon. You can get it. And this is just about mediumship development, whether you're a novice, whether you're someone who's been doing it a long time. It's got 84 practical exercises. It's used worldwide as a text for training mediums, and I do recommend this. The other book I want to recommend after that on the list is Hints on Spiritual Unfoldment by Estelle Roberts. Estelle Roberts, I had the good fortune of meeting almost 30 years ago in the UK. She passed maybe the next year after I met her, but amazing medium. She was a trance medium and healer. Fantastic channel for Ramadan, who was an Egyptian pharaoh who came through her. And she wrote a lot of books on mediumship, but this is about spiritual unfoldment in relationship to cultivation of mediumship and psychic ability. Now, you have to develop your morals. You have to develop your ethics. You have to develop yourself as an individual. It's really, really, really important. We want to have clean hearts. We want to have clean minds. And if there's dirt there, it's not that the higher spirits can't work through you. But this will give you some very good tips, some very good input on how to grow spiritually in relation with your mediumship. And I recommend any of her books, but I love this. I think out of all of her books, this is my favorite. Estelle Roberts, Hints on Spiritual Unfoldment. Now, Estelle Roberts wrote this book. Originally it was called 40 Years a Medium, and then 10 years later, in 1969, it was reprinted as 50 Years a Medium. And Estelle Roberts demonstrated her clairvoyance at the Royal Albert Hall in London. She was fantastic, both as a physical and mental medium and healer. I mean, she's fantastic. Now, this talks about her life. It's her autobiography, I should say. So you're going to learn a lot about how she got into it, her early experiences, what took place in terms of her own development as a medium and her own work as a missionary for the higher spirits to spiritualize the planet. So I highly recommend this book. The other book which I really want to recommend, this is obscure. This is something might be a bit hard to find. And it's written by a very, very, very prominent medium. Actually, it was published in 1876. That's the year of the Little Bighorn battle with General Custer and Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse, if you're into history. But his name was E.V. Wilson. And he traveled all over the United States demonstrating the reality of life after death. He was a true exponent for the world of spirit. And this talks about his experiences, in different locations around the United States, demonstrating the proofs of immortality. And, people don't even really know about this guy, but this man back in the 1870s was extremely well known within the movement of spiritualism and as a mental medium. So I highly recommend this book. It's called The Truths of Spiritualism, and it's by E.V. Wilson. So you might want to look this up because you can certainly find it. It's been reprinted. A similar book was written by E.W. Sprog, and he and his wife, they lived in Detroit, Michigan, and they demonstrated mediumship also all over the country. And this is called A Future Life Demonstrated, 27 Years of Public Medium. And this is also quite old. My gosh. Going all the way back to 1908 when this was published. And he wrote quite a few books on mediumship development, on healing development, on mediumship in both the Old and the New Testaments and the Bible. So this book, A Future Life Demonstrated, also he describes his experiences demonstrating spirit communication around the country. Very, very good book, the insight that you'll gain from reading his accounts and his explanations. He was a teacher and a missionary. And then we have, by Maurice Barbanel, who also authored many books. He was the medium for Silver Birch, who was a spirit guide who spoke through him. And in 1932, this particular Maurice Barbanel founded Psychic News, which was a weekly British spiritualist paper. So now it comes out as a monthly magazine, changed around. But anyway, this guy traveled all over the world, and he wrote many books. Excellent book, and it's called This is Spiritualism. And it's got different chapters on different mediums, different types of mediumship. It's amazing what was taking place. You will learn so much about this. What you see generally on TV, and it's very popular nowadays, it's not that deep. It's not what it could be. It's you can have a lot of really good publicity. The substance isn't always there just because something is well known or right in the public eye. But really, the phenomena of spiritualism, the power that takes place when the spirit world comes through, and really that's been demonstrated by quality mediums, is certainly documented within these pages. And he wrote a lot of books, Maurice Barbanel, and I highly recommend any of his works. But this one in particular, this book, This is Spiritualism, it's worth owning. It's definitely worth reading. The next book, and this was also written by a very prominent spiritualist who happened to be French, and his name is Leon Denis. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it the right way, like Leon Dennis or Leon Denis. I know I'm not saying it the right way with the accent, but Into the Unseen. This is an English translation, and it's very thick. It's very, 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 very good because it talks about mediumship. It talks about mediumship development, and you go back to this period. Mediumship is worldwide. I mean, it's always been worldwide. Indigenous cultures, there's always been mediums. But we see if we go back into the 1870s, the 1880s, the 1890s, right before the First World War, and even more so during and after the First World War, into the 1920s, it was massive. So this book, Into the Unseen, by Leon Dennis, it's a classic. And he was a direct follower of Allan Kardack, and which in France became spread all over Europe and internationally too. The Spiritist movement, which really is just a branch of spiritualism. A certain approach based on Kardack's classic works, and he was like the number one really major European spiritualist. So I highly recommend any of his work, in particular this book, Into the Unseen. And last book that I want to recommend was written by Allan Kardack, and it's called Heaven and Hell. How many of you know about Allan Kardack? Because he was a French educator. Allan Kardack is his pseudonym, and he wrote 5 classic works, and Heaven and Hell is unique because it talks about different levels of consciousness, different locations or states of consciousness and areas of consciousness that individuals possessing different mentalities, different life experiences here on this planet, how they wind up there, and what their realizations are, and where they are right now. So in terms of mediumship, if you read this, it will broaden you. You know, and it's not just something on a technical level. There's higher philosophy, there's higher spirituality and substance that's contained within this book. It's definitely worth getting. Did this come out in 1861? Let me just check. Sometimes I get these dates a little bit mixed up, but I just want to check right here. Because this book, I mean, I recommend any of Kardack's books. I mean, there's actually quite a few spiritual societies. I mean, there's many all around the world in which there's study groups all about opening up, all about becoming a better instrument and really just becoming a better individual, which is really what's very, 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 very important. It's learning to be a better person. It's developing and cultivating our spirituality. So I highly recommend this. I mean, I just love reading this book. So those books in particular are all ones that will help you with your growth. Now, I've got a lot more books, and I certainly could give you other suggestions depending on the area of mediumship that you're focusing on or where you are with your development. Please, if you've got questions or comments, please, add them below. Feel free to get a hold of me because I run a lot of both online and in-person, groups of my own and workshops and training programs for mediumship. And please subscribe and please keep in touch, and God bless you, and thank you so much for watching this video.